Okay, so now we're going to go over the Select tool, the Move Copy tool, and also talk about some sticky geometry that SketchUp has. So first we need to draw an object. I'll just draw a square real quick, and we'll pull that object into 3D. So if I want to select this, there's a lot of ways I can do this. Using the arrow tool, which is also the select button, I can click on whatever I want to select. Now if I click on something that's not part of a group or a component, I'll get this hatch pattern. This means that I have just selected that surface and that surface only. So if I hit delete, I'll actually get rid of that surface, but I don't want to do that for this. So if I click, I get whatever I clicked on. If I double click a surface, I get that surface and all of its bounding edges. So now I have the surface selected and all of the edges. There's a total of 5 things selected right now. If I triple click, 1, 2, 3, I select the surface, its bounding edges, and everything that it is touching that is not part of a group or a component. So since none of this was a group or a component, it selected all of it. So triple clicking will select everything as long as it's not part of a component or a group. Now if something is already a group and I click once on it, the entire thing gets selected, and I know it's selected because there's a blue box around it and there is no hatch pattern on the inside. So I know that is either a group or a component. Another way to select things is to drag a window. I can click, hold down the left mouse button, and drag a window from left to right. Anything that is 100% within that window will be selected. So if I let go, everything that was within that window was selected. So if I drag a window and I've got half of that guy in it and the entire block, only the block will get selected because only half of him was in that window. Now you can also drag a window from right to left. If you drag a window from right to left, it is anything that is crossing this line. So my box, the bottom corner of my block there, is not within the selection window, but if I let go, it selects it anyway because the other parts of those lines were in it. Or if I drag it across and I only get a piece of this guy, it'll select his whole group or component as well. So you can click, double click, triple click, left to right window, right to left window. Those are the different ways for selecting things. Okay, now we're going to go over the Move and Copy tool. There is no specific copy tool for SketchUp. It is just the Move tool, which looks like the kind of the plus sign, the arrows going in all 4 different directions. And if we tap Control, it turns it into the Copy button. So it's one button and it serves 2 completely different things. If you're going to move something and that object is already a group, you can just select the Move tool, hover over it, click it, and move it. No problem. If you're going to try to move something that is not a group, you can do the same thing, but you're only going to be moving that surface that you click on, and you might end up making your object look a little weird. So if I click on this surface here, I can actually stretch this and do all kinds of weird things to this shape by moving it. It's not just straight in one direction like the push-pull tool. With the Move tool, you can actually move it all around different ways and create some really weird shapes. But if I wanted to move the block, I would want to first select it, so pick whichever method you want, and then I could use the Move tool to just click and move. Now as you can see right there, sometimes the computer doesn't know if I'm trying to move it back, if I'm trying to actually move it up here close. So some of the challenges of working in 3D right there. So sometimes when I'm moving something, if I do really want to move it back like that, you need to change your camera angle so that it makes it easy for the computer to figure out what you're trying to do. If I wanted to really move that back along the green axis there, that would be the way to do it. Just rotate your camera angle. Sometimes it takes 2 moves if I want to move something over instead of just the single move that I want, because again, 3D space and 2D. Alright, so that's the Move tool. Now if I want to make a copy, I do the same thing. I select it, I select the tool, pick it, and then I just tap Control, and then when I start moving it, I have a separate one. If I accidentally bumped Control while I was moving something and now I have 2 of them, I can just tap it again and it goes away. So that is the Copy button, which is also the Move button. Alright, and now we're going to talk about sticky geometry. So in order to talk about that, we need to talk about groups a little bit. For what we're doing, we're just going to group things. We're not going to make components. There's some differences in them, but for what we're doing, it doesn't really matter at this point. So in order to make something a group, I'm going to select it, right click on it, and go to Make Group. Now what this will do is when I click on any part of it, it'll now select all of it. It'll also make it a little bit easier for me to move it around. As opposed to having to select it each time, I can just click a part of it and move it. This guy over here is already his own group. So another thing with it is it keeps objects from sticking together. So if I go to move something, and another tip with moving is wherever you click the point to move from is where SketchUp will try to line it up. So if I just randomly click in this box right here and I want to set these two blocks on top of each other, see how it keeps jumping to where I clicked? Where I really want to set these blocks on top of each other, but it becomes difficult because I clicked in that other spot. So I think I got it there, but I'm still not quite sure. A better way to do that would be to click on one of these points here and then line it up with that endpoint there. Click. Now I know my boxes are lined up with each other. Alright, so since this top one is a group, the bottom one is not, the top one is not going to get stuck to it. So there is nothing stuck to it. I can place it on top there. If I don't want it there, I can move it down. No harm, no foul. If I take this other block, which is not a group, and I move it over and I set it on top of this one, which is also not a group, and now I say, oops, I didn't want that there, and I very carefully select it, and I try to move it, they are stuck together. That is called sticky geometry. So it works very well for creating certain abstract shapes, and it helps SketchUp function to be able to do this because it's closing the gaps that you might not see. But if it's something to consider, just make sure that you're aware of it. For this reason, I always think it's a good idea to make everything a group while you're working. In case you need to move something later, it takes a couple of extra key clicks and it just makes your life a lot easier. It also makes it a lot easier for when we go to assign things to layers, which is part of more of our advanced skill that we'll get into in one of the later videos here. But that is a brief overview on it, on sticky geometry and how using groups can help you avoid that.